2 weeks left. Yeah, it goes by quickly, doesn't it? Anyway, what I'm going to do in this video is go over the cases. Somebody asked me to, because I just want to see, what you were graded on and what is it that you are supposed to do. Aside from that, you have one major assignment left. Well, other than discussion boards and things like that. And that's the big picture. And so what you get to do in that is actually act like marketers. Meaning, these companies might be in trouble, or maybe they are in trouble. So you're going to propose through marketing, how do we save the company? And this is actually the kind of problem you really have when you go out there and work as marketers. Anyway, the first case was Thin TV. Thin TV was based on a true story. It was based on when I work in the flat panel display industry. I was the one who had suggested, because we were making these beautiful 2-inch displays, that we should go into the cell phone market, and I got shut down. And shut down brutally, which is why I hate Stanford students. Anyway, for Thin TV, the first question was to talk about the pros and cons. Now, when you have a case, there's a lot of information and a lot of details, and this is actually what happens in industry. You have all this information, and now you need to sort it out and figure out what information works and what information doesn't work. And so these are straight out of the case. One of the biggest details I was looking for is, for the 10-inch displays, are investors an issue? And they are an issue, because another part of marketing is management, and so you have to deal with management. But if you missed it, you only lost 1 point. So question 2, they're asking you to figure out what the sales volumes are, and essentially what the sales equals. So what sales volume is equal to is, what is the market size times the share of the market I have. And here I've listed out all the information that they gave you within the case. And so if I do my calculations, now here's the thing when you have big cases like this with a lot of information. Maintain your discipline. If you maintain your discipline, you'll be okay. Just take it one step at a time. That's how you deal with big ones. So I probably would have started out with the mid-sized displays. Why? Because they tell you half the answer. And so right away, you can input the numbers. Now this number is going to be the same as this number, so I don't have this number yet. In terms of the 2-inch displays, it tells me market share, which is 10, 50, 20, and 25. But I need to know what the market size is. And so it's telling me that I'm starting out for 2 inches. It's 1% of the display, 5, 20, and 25. Not only that, but it tells you that the size of the market is 20 million. So 20 million, and then it's growing. And so the 25% or whatever, I just keep tacking on. And so I multiply this by this, and this tells me what the volume of this small display market is. Now, depending where I come in, naturally the market's going to be bigger. And that's what really does happen to markets. They're moving targets. So the question is, where do you want to jump in? So that's how you solve the first problem. So the key to that is figuring out, what data do I need to solve this? And then what happens in year 1, what happens in year 2, what happens in year 3, and so on. Now, for the 10-inch, it just tells me the market's 5 million. It doesn't say that it's growing or anything, so I don't make any assumptions. One thing the case also tells me is that for 2 years, I'm going to be working on this technology, so I can't sell right away. So what happens is, when I do jump in, 0.5% of this is what the market share is. That's how much I can expect to get. But how do I know that the market is 5 million? And the way you can get that is, let's see, that's the growth. And here's the way you figure it out. It's $500 for 10-inch displays. It says a 20% market share is $500 million. Therefore, if it's $500 million for 20%, the whole market size is $2.5 billion. And I'm selling my displays for $500 each, which means I have 5 million displays. That's where that number comes. Now, if you got stuck on this, I really wish you had come to me and just asked me, because I would have pointed you in the right direction of how to solve this. And so, this is probably one of the toughest parts of this whole case. And this is the way you solve it, through discipline. And they ask you the price of a $500 display. Now, displays are this shape of 3, 4, 5 triangles. And so that means that the legs are always in ratios of 3 to 4 to 5. And so a 10-inch display is double 5 because displays are measured according to the diagonal. So if it's double, then that means the legs 3 and 4 have to be doubled. So it's 6 and 8. So what I'm charging for is $10.41 per square inch. However, the case tells you that they're charging at least 50% margin. So somewhere in there, you have to assume that it's going to be a 50% margin, which makes it 5.21, and then it decreases over time. Once again, all the information is there for you in the case, but you have to analyze it. Again, if you needed help, you could have come and talked to me. And so this reviews, so what's the size of these? 48, 3, 4, 5 for a 5-inch is 12 square inches. But what happens when I've got like a 2-inch? Well, it's 40%, and so that's where you get that from. How would you price each approach and why? Now, can I charge a premium or can I charge average? And so, naturally, the military, I could charge a premium. 2-inch, I could charge a premium because there are no color displays. 10-inch, very difficult to do, very competitive market. And so, you could pick prices. But what I just wanted you to do is do a little research. Go online and see who's got the biggest margins. I mean, can I charge double? Does anybody charge double? And so if you looked at Intel or if you looked at Apple or companies like that and saw what their margins were, you will find out that there's an upper end. I don't care what number you used, but I do care about you justifying where that number came from, because that's what you do in industry. Nobody knows what the answer is, so you have to make an argument. You just can't walk in and say, well, off the top of my head, I think we can charge $800. I mean, tell why. Calculating the profit, what it comes down to is you make a table. So gross revenue is price times. So based on your price, this is how much revenue this is what my volume would be. In this case, I'm arbitrarily using $20. So here's my profit. Now the cost. Remember the hint I gave you, that you should think about a display as a pizza. And so they're all going to cost the same, but I need to know the area and what costs per year, because the costs are coming down. And so that gives me what my total costs are. So my gross revenue is what my revenue is, which is the price times volume, minus the cost, how much it costs me times volume. But also I have to subtract out the burn rate. It tells you in it you're spending $20 million a year, and that's your overhead. And that's what corporate costs pretty much come down to, not including taxes and stuff like that, which I didn't ask you to do. And so what you find out for 2-inch, you can make a lot of money, but you're going to get hit in the beginning. And burn rate's really important, because Your company is existing and you're not making any money, but you are spending money. And eventually that money runs out. You can kind of think of it as a fuse. And so that's how you do that part of the problem. And the other parts of the problem, let's see, what approach should you pick? I don't double dip, meaning if you did the calculations all wrong, this is really going to be hard to solve. But you have to use some kind of quantitative justification. But what I'm looking for is, in marketing, we do things for other reasons than just profit. And so someone could say, we should go into 2-inch because we already know how to do that. Or some people could write, we shouldn't go into 2-inch because we're not set up to do those millions and millions of volumes, or something like that. And so this is where I'm asking you to use your business acumen to figure out what's actually going on. And then the last part is there a chasm? And yeah, there is, because if you look at it come up, it's not smooth. It flattens out a little bit and then goes up again, which means it hit a chasm. Roman Haas. Okay, the calculations, I'm going to grade this pretty easy. If you have something in the ballpark, you'll probably just get full credit, or maybe 1 point off. But what it comes down to for Roman Haas is, in order to do the calculations properly, these are the things you need to think about. One is, how much chemistry do I need? Now, why do I like that chemistry? Because now I don't have to clean things out as often. If I don't need to clean things out as often, then I don't have to pay to dispose of it, that the waste costs are very high. So those are the two things that you're fighting against. The other thing about this is they keep switching volumes on you, and so you need to pick one standard and calculate it out that way. And so if you do the calculations, I'm not going to go through it. So as you can see, the number of cleanings per year is different for each one. And so if you looked at it for the full 22 machines, or if you looked at it just for one machine or whatever, it doesn't matter as long as you are consistent. Just state what it is that you are actually using. Now, why isn't it selling? And this answer was in the case for you. But what you need to do is be detailed. So go through the case and underline things. Figure out, what is it that's going on? And the big thing which is going on with Cathon is they're finding out that there's a lot of different ways people buy things. Like some do it to the distributors. Maybe you should sell it directly. If you recall from the case, it talks about they tried engineers, but engineers weren't very good salesmen. And there were a number of different problems are. But the two big concepts going on here is, one is machine shops are slow adopters, that they don't like to make a lot of change. Second part is that new products, especially technology-based products, require education. Remember crossing the chasm? Well, in order to cross the chasm, one of the approaches is education. And so there wasn't the case talks about a lot of details. Not enough marketing to distributors, not marketing to the right channels. Different customers learn in different ways. And so if you stay with the product, not only do you need marketers, but you need marketing engineers for them to understand it. And if you choose to abandon the product, then what I'm looking for is you have to make a justification that education probably isn't going to help, or it's going to be too expensive, too much risk for them. Now, the user environment, who are you selling to? Well, you're basically selling to machine shops. Now, I get arguments about, Dr. Cho, this wasn't in any of your slides or anything like that. Well, that's the point to a case. I'm asking you to go beyond the slides. And so in a machine shop, who makes the final decision? Do they all sit there and go, let's vote? No, the owner of the shop typically will make the decisions. But what I'm looking for is some kind of logical answer. For the last part, should we stay in or stay out? There's one point in this that I didn't discuss that's very difficult. And yeah, it only counts as 1 point. However, I like to challenge you. And the question is, should I stay in or should I stay out? You know, your recommendation to me. Well, what it comes down to is, should I stay in or should I stay out? And so you're writing a recommendation to me. Here's the one difficult thing about technology-based products, and this goes back into the customer logic lecture and everything else. As you see, this course builds on itself. And that's that people don't buy things because of risk. And if I have a lot of risk, what do? I sit back and wait for somebody else to go through the door first. What is the value of this product? First and foremost, that's what you should always be asking yourself. What is the value of the product? And primarily, they talk about it being a cost savings. Well, if all you are is a cost savings, then people will wait when it comes to technology. Cost is not enough to make people adopt new technology. They're going to sit back and wait. Somebody I knew just got a Tesla for like $32,000, which is a very reasonable price. And yet, everybody isn't jumping on it. The reason why I got the price down so low was because of all the kickbacks. Well, I shouldn't say kickback. But the money from the government that subsidizes the cars. And still, people won't buy it. And it's because $32,000 is still a significant chunk of money because you got taxes and stuff on top of that. Anyway, that's the case. And as you can see, it really isn't that bad. I wish more of you had approached me and asked questions, but you know, what's done is done. You have your project left, and I'll see you next week.